fiendish edition with Alexa Bliss transforming the ominous, haunting presence of the Fiend is still on WWE television, even though he's not there. Randy Orton's face is burned. We had references to Drew Barrymore, Thomas the Tank Engine, and a cameo from a character actor you've seen in Harold and Kumar. We're 2 weeks out from the Royal Rumble, and we're going to have your comments on screen. What's up, everybody? I am Kev Kelm. That is John Clark in Central Pennsylvania, and your comments are going to pop up on screen. If you're with us live, go ahead and hit that like button. See those hearts pop up on screen if you're with us on YouTube and Facebook and all that good stuff. And if you're in your podcast ears, thank you guys so much for getting us on the charts in Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, and of course, once again, the island nation of Cyprus. Are we big in the States? No, we're big international, baby. Continue to share the links, and if you don't, you are the one that stinks. Let's get some people on screen, hit that like button, and get involved in the show. John Clark, fresh off Monday at Raw. Alexa Bliss wins the main event. She transforms going into commercial break and hits the Sister Abigail, pins the Raw Women's Champion, non-title action. Your immediate reactions?
I thought it was a very interesting match. It definitely solidifies my opinion that we're going to see Alexa Bliss win the Royal Rumble. This just fueled the fire for me in that, and I absolutely think we get this again at WrestleMania, and I'm okay with it. I thought it was a very well I guess you could say introduction to their story, because I think that they're going to continue this. This is going to be kind of kicking that off. They keep teasing the Fiend. And look, do we get him back at the Royal Rumble, and do we get the double where Fiend and Bliss both win the Rumble? It's possible. What do you think?
That would be crazy if you had like the Lady Fiend and the Fiend win the Rumble. That would be really, really crazy. If you're with us for the first time, let us know what you guys think of this. This was interesting. Now, the match itself was different. It was a very slow match for Asuka. She's been going really high paced, kind of a fresher, more colorful version of her. And other people sounding off that they liked AJ and Ricochet. They say that was the match of the night. Let us know what your favorite part of Monday at Raw, what your least favorite part of Monday at Raw was. And as always, give us that 1 to 10. It's the 1 to 10 rating on Monday at Raw, what you liked about it. Other people enjoyed the dirt sheet on tonight's show, texting in about that. Other people saying Mandy Rose is going to win the Royal Rumble. Well, it didn't look like that tonight. We'll touch on all that, and your comments will be on screen. Highly interactive. This main event angle, though, this is the thing with Raw. It's 3 hours long. We had a segment with them in the ring earlier in the night that was like Alexa's playground with the creepy playground, like ghost trumps, and then they had her talking to someone on the swing set who isn't there, and Asuka talk. That was clunky. That fell a little bit too long on the tooth, and that wasn't great. Like that to me, but the match itself was really cool. I didn't mind them going to commercial break with like some weird light stuff. What's going to happen? They came back and she had some new makeup and
I was going to say, like, we can agree that this is not something they could have pulled off in a live audience, because Bliss, you could tell they had retaped one of these segments because of how she was in a completely different clothing.
WT Dub William T. Wages says Alexa is tearing this story up. She has Bray and the Fiend moves down. All right, so they continue with Bray. Other people giving Raw a 7.5 tonight. What did you like about it? If you're watching on demand or live, let us know in the comments below. And if you're watching on demand, I'll jump into the comments with you guys after this as well, so don't worry about that. Other people with different takes here. And Mike Lenz, we'll talk about this in a second here. He says, I could have watched Ricochet and AJ for an entire 3 hours. He really enjoyed that. Roxana is texting in saying, WWE dropped the ball. On RKO mask after see the mask they did over the years. I guess he's referencing this is the way that Monday Night Raw was opened. You notice when we do these review shows, John, I do like this. We don't do this segment happened, then this segment happened. We talk about the immediate things that people are talking about after the show. We will talk about that. Other people didn't like Raw. Jay Northrop just says Raw sucked. He just says it sucked. That was his take. We did have a Gillberg appearance. We'll talk about that within tonight's show. A lot of different things. 2 weeks out from Royal Rumble. Just overall, did you get the sense that one of the biggest shows of the year is just 2 weeks away? We had some new promos, some new comic booky art for it. Are you feeling the Rumble 2 weeks out, John Clark?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes and no. I mean, look, I'm gonna
Mhm.
be completely honest. The build to this event, even the past couple of years, hasn't been that great. They the Rumble is probably one of the most important matches of the year. That and Money in the Bank are probably the top two as far as individual matches go, but they just don't really build it up to be that way anymore. And there's a reason why, I think, because it used to be if you won the Royal Rumble, you truly were in the main event of WrestleMania. The past couple years, even though they say the winner goes to the main event of WrestleMania, they're not actually typically in the last match of WrestleMania. It's not truly the main event. And people always say, well, there's co-main events.
Mhm.
And I guess technically this year we are getting two main events like we did last year because it's two different nights. But you get what I'm saying. They just haven't treated it like they have in the past. Am I wrong in saying that?
You are not wrong, but I don't know. I'm not too down about the idea that the whoever wins those matches at the Royal Rumble does it because there's two of them now. You know what I mean? So like the fact that there's two of them, that kind of I'm okay with that. The fact that there's two nights of WrestleMania this year, I'm okay with that. It kind of balances out. I mean, there could be a night where the Royal Rumble winners are in matches, just one of those nights, and then another night has other matches tied to it. So there just because there's so much, it doesn't bother me as much because if you tied it to that, then you're limiting it, and then you're limiting the amount of spots you can build to. You're limiting the amount of stories you can build to. I don't mind it. This is scaling it out based on how much content you're producing. So I don't mind the idea of it because that's the actual reality of the situation and the actual format of what you're building to.
Okay.
Other people mentioning Randy Orton with his weird mask tonight made him look like Mr. Wrestling 2. I tweeted that out. The great Bill Apter, the legendary wrestling journalist Bill Apter, tweeting out saying it
Absolutely.
made him look like the Destroyer. What do you think of this open Monday Night Raw? We talked about the ending of Monday Night Raw. Let's zip back 3 hours earlier to the opening Monday Night Raw. A very long, very wordy promo from Randy Orton talking about the fireball being thrown in his face last week. He's wearing kind of like I looked this up. It's a flame protectant mask. So when people get facial burns like that, they actually get a mask that looks like that. And they didn't shoot it too close. It looked really cool, but I thought this went a little bit too long.
I thought the promo was okay. I mean, I get what they're doing. But at the same time, I don't get what they're doing because I get what they're doing in the immediate short term, but I'm not sure what they're doing in the long term because we can agree that Randy Orton is clearly not done with the Fiend yet. And as far as we have been led on to believe, Wyatt is likely turning, or the Fiend, shall I say, is likely turning his attention into the title picture heading into WrestleMania. Where does this leave Randy Orton? Look, clearly the Fiend's returning at the Royal Rumble. Clearly the Fiend's probably going to eliminate Randy Orton somehow, some way. But where does that leave Orton after that? That is what is the most interesting part to me right now. Because do they have a plan for him? Are they going to throw him back in with Edge? Does Edge somehow fit into this picture? There's a lot of puzzle pieces to be fit together yet.
Love the new comments, new faces popping into the show here. Anthony Diaz says, I watch Raw these days mostly for Samoa Joe's awesome commentary. I agree. He's doing a really great job
Man,
on
I'd like to
commentary.
see him
Though
get back
I
in the
miss
ring,
him in the
though.
ring. I miss seeing him.
That's exactly what I just said too. I really wish he would get back into the ring.
Yeah. Jeremy Shock saying, I loved Raw with Randy opening, Alexa Bliss ending. I see the Fiend as either a surprise entrant in the Rumble or showing up on Raw. Maybe they just do the swerve and don't give you the obvious thing of him appearing at the Rumble. Randy Orton's still committing in his dialogue tonight to being in the Rumble, and that this is just something he's going to have to deal with before he
With
gets
his
there.
mask on, he'll be wrestling with that mask on. You know that,
Yeah.
right?
It'll be weird. I never understood those masks where they get the nose sticks out. You know what I mean? Any of those masks where your nose sticks out always struck me as weird. Something that'll stick out for you. Got to talk about this. I've been showing them off for weeks now. You need to know about it. You can win these. Check these out. Oh man, you can't have them, John. I know you've been asking me. You cannot have these. These
I don't
are
qualify?
our WWE Elite Metal action figures You get the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan. We have 2 lucky winners before the end of January. And I'm letting the people that watch our shows on YouTube and Facebook and listen to the podcast, you guys are getting the lowdown about this. We are going to drop the contest for these, and the entries are going to come in really, really fast. All right. But it's going to happen this week. Okay. All right. So we're going to have one week and then another the week of Royal Rumble time. So we're going to give these 2 away before the end. And keep an eye on our socials, on Facebook, on Twitter. All right. You want to make sure your notifications are on both apps so you see everything we're doing and you're ready to win these. And you're getting the hint that we're going to do that before we even do it. Because there's, this, John. There's going to be people that see us on Twitter and Facebook and they follow us for the wrestling news and they don't want to get into the chitter chatter. They don't want to get on the virtual couch. They don't want to go into deep water. They just want to say Raw sucks and move on. Okay. And that's fine. But I want the people that are sticking with us in deep waters to, the people who are really in the fight. I want the sole survivors of WrestleMania to benefit from this and also spread the word. This is a way for you guys to do this. So keep an eye out for that link. When you see it, this is going to go fast. All right. And we're going to pick someone randomly. And I want to make sure that people that listen and support the show can enjoy it as well. Let's get into the rest of Monday Night Raw. The big angles hit. I thought Alexa was different. It was unique. It wasn't the best match, but it was unique. The opening with Randy Orton was pretty good. It's interesting. They're definitely doing something big with Randy, and we're getting the Fiend. You're right. So storylines points, those are strong. There's lanes there, and the Royal Rumble's on their horizon. But they did do some goofy things that I could see some fans being into and not into. Let's talk about this. It was teased. We had a dirt sheet segment. Always love hearing the Fink introduce this with the Miz and the Morrison. Miz is Mr. Money in the Bank. So at some point, he was going to tease a cash in and the lead up to the Royal Rumble. You don't have Drew McIntyre. He's on the shelf with COVID-19 currently. He sent in a filmed short, brief promo. And they said they're going to have Goldberg on out of nowhere. They said within the show, we're going to have Goldberg on. And WWE didn't advertise Goldberg. And I'm texting other guys at WrestleZone saying, did they advertise Goldberg for the show? Did that just go over my head? And we didn't get Goldberg. We got Gillberg. What did you think of this? This was actually pretty funny. This was well done. This is one of those WWE comedy segments that actually worked. David Krumholtz also appeared in this segment, and he played a kind of schleppy, overweight, showing his butt crack, New Jersey version of Drew McIntyre. And that's a big actor. That's not like a small time. Usually when they get someone to come in and play these like goof parts where they're like, oh, come out and dress like the person I'm going to have a match with, but then I'm going to goof on you or something like that. It usually tends to be an independent wrestler or like a theater actor of some kind, right? So an unknown. When he came out, I was like, I know him. And his wig fell off or something like that. And I was like, wow, he was in Harold and Kumar. And I was talking to people. So it was like, that's a pretty cool get for them to do that. And it was actually pretty funny when he like asked them to start the whole scene over. And they're like, no, this is live. And they did the Cleveland line where they said nothing good comes out of Cleveland. So I thought that was pretty funny. A thumbs up, very funny segment from Miz and Morrison. I'm not saying all of them are great, but this one was really funny. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, for those of you who might remember, some of you might not, the last time that we saw Gillberg in the news, it was an article that I had published back on November 29th. He had a heart attack in middle of November last year.
That's great. He looked good.
Yeah, he was in the hospital for 2 weeks. He was released beginning in December, and a month later, well, almost 2 months later, here he is, making an appearance tonight for the first time, and I think since it was not Legends Night or Raw 20 or one of those shows. But and then I saw everybody commenting saying how when Drew came out, they were hoping it was going to be James Ellsworth, since those two are like all buddy now. But whoever this guy was that you're talking about, I've never heard of this guy before.
David Krumholtz. So. He's been in a lot of TV shows. This isn't like a small. I wouldn't say he's one of the most famous actors in the world, but I mean, this is a guy who has like a 20 plus. He's been acting since 1993. He was on CBS shows. He was on a bunch of different things.
He needed to pull the kilt up a little bit because he was awfully close to exposing his.
Yes, he was. I think he was going for that as well. I think.
But it was close.
I was like, this guy's getting really goofy. Like he's really pushing his role when he turned it and then went up to the ropes. And I was just like, oh, that's just him trying to show ass, man. Like that's what he was trying to go for. He did a great job. This is funny. I wouldn't be opposed if they had like somebody from Saturday Night Live or comedic actors come in and do these parts instead of just an actor that you don't know. I think it was kind of neat and it was well done and it made me care more about the segment, you know?
Overall, I definitely thought it was very entertaining and funny, and I think it definitely puts a bigger twist on things because you have to keep in mind that, The Miz does have the briefcase. Maybe he does cash in if Goldberg wins or if Drew wins or whoever. You have to keep that in mind that he's still there,
Mhm.
and he's always going to be that kind of dark horse contender to cash in, which leaves it a little bit more unpredictable in some ways. But I mean, with Drew out the past couple weeks, there's been no question about it, at least for now. But next week, that comes back into effect again.
Daniel Scogaletti says, no wonder the ratings on Raw have dropped. The show sucks. How long is USA Network going to let this happen? Well, last week's Monday at Raw was down a bit.
The week before was their best
excuse me, I
show
didn't
in
mean
like 2
that.
years.
John, we're having a little bit of a delay. What'd you say there, bud?
Oh, I was saying that their show 2 weeks ago was like their best show ratings wise in like 2 years.
Yeah, but I mean, we're everyone's gonna say, well, it's nothing like it was in the Attitude Era. Well, guess what? No television show is like it was 20 years ago. So people don't watch it the same way, and I think that's worth noting. So I always like how people just think of wrestling as compared to like 20 years ago when there was half as many media choices as you have now. That's a big part of it. But I do think, yeah, you do have to look at the ratings, and there's a little bit more pressure on those ratings numbers going into WrestleMania season. This is the biggest time of the year. Some fans who are casual fans tune in around this time of the year, and they're like, all right, well, what do you got for me? I haven't watched since last year's WrestleMania time. You know this, John. This is the time of year when people are asking, hey, are we going to get together to watch the Royal Rumble? I know I've already had some fans saying, let's have a Zumble. They want to have a Zumble, like a Zoom Rumble party and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is the time of year where you have casual fans jump on the train to WrestleMania. And if people aren't feeling this, do you think there's enough on there for that mainstream fan, that seasonal fan that comes in here? I think the stuff with Alexa is designed for that. I think everything with The Fiend is designed like that. Randy Orton is a name that those fans know. And they're bringing in Goldberg for these fans as well. Is that also going to aggravate, though, your diehards who are here week to week? Because they got something tonight with AJ Styles and Ricochet, and we'll talk about that here in a second.
They can never be completely satisfied, and there will always be something to say negatively.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they care at this point. I honestly think at this point they have turned their attention to making WrestleMania the best possible show they can be, since they know there's going to be a decent number of fans in attendance. And I think everything they're doing right now is aimed towards making that one of their biggest shows in recent memory.
Oh, we'll get into that. We do have big WrestleMania news that broke. The news snooze. It's not snooze. That broke over the weekend. Big media play by WWE to roll that out during an NFL game this weekend as well. And keep those comments coming. Running through Monday at Raw, another highlight of the show. So we already have like several segments that are thumbs up here. The first hour of the show is dragging for me. You know what I mean? And I didn't feel any of the matches were particularly
Hour for
connecting.
me.
I thought they were kind of middling in the road. Like they were just every time the matches got going in the first hour, like Xavier and Mace had a fine match. It was fine. He looked strong, but there was nothing super dynamic about it. It keeps Retribution strong. They're away from Ricochet. I don't know why. Are they going now? They're going after the New Day. I was kind of like meh on that. They had Nia Jax and Shayna. They're in the Rumble. They're getting along, but they're not getting along. And that was the whole point of Shayna wrecking Mandy Rose and tapping her out. Okay, match. Nothing fantastic. Nothing off the page. Nothing that makes me feel like these are real players. Those were just middle of the road. They weren't flat out bad, but they just weren't exciting. But then they did this pre-match promo with Ricochet and AJ Styles. They've been doing these in gorilla position. And it's right before they go out. And Ricochet, for some reason, brings up the Drew Barrymore movie, 50 First Dates. And then AJ says, yeah, I watched that movie. It's on my Netflix queue. You don't think I watched Drew Barrymore movie? And it was just weird dialogue. And I was like, this is Ricochet versus AJ Styles. If you love over the top, move for move, bang, bang, superhero, video game wrestling action, you're going to get it from them, right? And then the bell rang. And you got that. And you got this really great match, and commentary really laid into the point that Ricochet's been down and he wants to prove himself and get back in the game. If he wins this match, he's in the Rumble. It was kind of like an odd thing that Styles is playing gatekeeper. Like, I've been in the Rumble. I have my spot. You have to get through me to get a spot. It's interesting. They did this last week with Gulak, and Gulak lost, right? And I thought that I was like, oh, why do this, And I thought Styles could take a loss here. And they had Omos as his big, gigantic henchman, and he landed and caught Omos, and Omos said the referee told him to put him down. He said, I won't put him down, and he just dropped him like a hail of bay.
Yeah.
A bay of hail, whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
Hail of bay.
I'm not letting enough blood get to my brain. I'm so excited about this. This match was fantastic. This was a lot. You believed that Ricochet could win this, that this was going to set him back on track, and then he gets flapjacked, springboard off the ropes, his chest first, into a Styles clash, which was super impressive. This is maybe the best Styles clash I've ever seen. Match of the night. What do you think of Styles versus Ricochet? I love this. Probably the best Raw match of the month so far.
It was okay.
Oh, come on, Clark. What do you mean it was okay? You can't just tell me it's okay. You gotta give me a real argument here, because you do this. You say things and then you come on. You can't just say it sucks. S-U-X. Come on, write it out. Fill it out for me.
The promo was lackluster before the show. Ricochet continues to show that he is not good on the microphone. He's a lost puppy. He has no idea what he's doing.
Lost puppy?
The match itself, yes, it was okay, but there was no direction. There was no point. We knew AJ was going to win. Ricochet loses again. He's probably still not in the Royal Rumble. He's still irrelevant. I almost want to also say that AJ Styles has nothing going on, but he's just been pretty much pounding on wannabe Rumble entrants that can't prove themselves to make the match, so they lose to AJ Styles. I still want to see Omos in the Royal Rumble match. I hope we get that. They teased that tonight with the face-to-face to Adam Pearce. I don't know. It just wasn't doing the trick for me.
You didn't like this match?
I said it was okay.
Oh, it was beyond okay.
I give the match like a 3.5 out of 5.
Promo was off, but then the match itself was great.
I mean, yeah, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't like this wasn't like a Johnny Gargano Tommaso Ciampa NXT TakeOver match.
Mike Lynn 8 enjoying our show on YouTube. Thank you for checking us out on YouTube, by the way. We're going to start putting some exclusives up on YouTube, by the way, if you're just watching over there. I know a lot of people enjoy the show on Facebook. Mike says, does Clark need a nap? Do you need a nap? Is 3 hours of Raw too long? Did you not have enough caffeine? What happened here, John?
I'm not sure what the comment is implying, but no, I don't.
Are you a lost puppy? Do you need an extra blanket? Lost puppy. That was ridiculous.
I said it was okay. Okay, it was like a 3.5 out of 5, but I just feel like every time that he's in a match, it's always hyped up to be way more than it actually is, just because of his name.
Fair. And yeah, I could say it where you're like, I know he's not going to win, so I don't really because they've been building you up to the idea that he needs a win and he isn't getting them, right? Or he isn't getting these definitive wins that he needs.
Essentially, yeah.
Or matches that have consequence. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So James Espanto Fernando Taguay says AJ versus Ricochet was a banger. He loved it. DJ saying Omos should be in the Rumble match. We have AJ in the Rumble. What do you think of Omos getting in there? Omos has not had a match on WWE television.
That's what I've been saying this the past 2 weeks now, that he needs to be in the match. I think that it could be an interesting concept, especially if somehow he gets involved with AJ Styles. Does somebody eliminate somebody? Does somebody screw over somebody? That could be interesting.
All right, here we go. People not liking that lost puppy comment that you had about Ricochet. Lost puppy. Then you get the puppy emoji. So somebody spent time on this. They did some extra clicking. Lost puppy. Big Kev, please check if John is okay. Is Robert D. Felipe is Robert DeFelice isn't wearing a John Clark match. Is that?
I think he meant to say mask.
What if you reached down and like right by your neck, you pulled the mask off like Scooby Doo, and then it was me, Robert DeFelice.
It was me, Austin. It was me all along.
It was. Wait, I'll do it with a. It was me. It was me all along. Yeah, just
okay. And we have to address the comment because he just comments again and he says, "If you didn't like the AJ Ricochet match, can you really be a wrestling fan?" The answer, in simple terms, yes. You can be.
He's insistent that it's not John Clark. It's Robert DeFelice in disguise. Because Robert DeFelice is, if you don't know this, John, he's the fun killer. And if everyone else is having fun and he's not having fun, he has to go out and kill the fun. He's the fun killer.
I feel like any other time, if I would say like this match was great, I would just be called a mark all night. But because Ricochet and AJ Styles, it's like
that's true. I also think people are just conditioned to poo-poo on things on Monday Night Raw, and generally they got to work from a negative on this. What else do you want to talk about on tonight's Monday Night Raw that we haven't touched on already?
The upcoming, what appears to be demise of the Hurt Business already, may I add.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Cedric and Shelton are due to at least probably cost them the tag championships at some point soon. I don't know who's going to take it from them, though. Maybe we're close to Ivar being able to come back for the Viking Raiders, or I don't know, but
that's a neck surgery. Recouping on that is a long, long time. But I mean, Eric's on the bench.
Well, they have to have a plan if they're breaking up this team. Who's going to step in and take the titles?
Yeah, true.
The Lucha House Party?
Who knows, man? The 6-man tag, I thought it was fine, but I don't know what favors it did for Riddle. Riddle feels like he's just a goofy mid-card character now. Like that his role is to be comedy. And I think he can be so much more than that, But at the same time, I don't think he's buried. Everyone says that means you're buried. No, but I think you're just kind of written into a box, and I hope he doesn't stay in there. I hope he can get out of it and do something a little bit more dynamic than just be the fun, goofy stoner guy who says ridiculous things, and then maybe has a competitive match but loses. And he got whooped last week. So I don't know what favors that did. I didn't like it. It didn't make sense to me. I don't know where it's going. And the story just seems almost one-sided in this one regard, where it's all within Hurt Business. I enjoyed MVP's line, if you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. I thought that was a good line. One of those things that pops at ringside when there isn't like a live crowd, like instead of a virtual one. So I thought that was interesting as well. What do you think of the hype they had for Goldberg and Drew McIntyre this week? Obviously, we had the goofy segment with Miz. He teased a cash in at Royal Rumble. I'm looming over everything. He's in the Royal Rumble. Is there a possibility he wins the Rumble and has the briefcase? Who knows? But I do want to know, what do you think of Drew's presence on the show in a pre-film promo? It was fine. It didn't do anything super spectacular. They had him at the bench, like he's still working out. I don't know how you're working out with COVID or how you're getting your breath back or how severe his case is, but how much does it take you out of it to not have Drew there?
It's not the same doing the virtual thing, but we understand that that's what they have to do.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing at all. Like we've seen with Brock Lesnar multiple times the past 2 years where he's been the champion away for like a month and you don't hear from him at all. So at least you get something. Mm-hmm. But we all know that I've been saying since August, it was time for him to finally drop the belt. And then he finally did to Randy Orton, and that lasted 2 weeks. And then he got it back. And now I fear that actually, let me take that back. I don't fear, because I do think Goldberg is going to win the championship next weekend. And I know people are going to freak out about me saying that and the fact that it's going to happen. Oh, yeah, Goldberg's going to win the championship next weekend. And
clean?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. Drew needs to. What are they going to do?
You also have Miz. You also have Miz hanging over this.
Well, I'd be okay with that too. If Drew wins and the Miz comes out and cashes in, that's
you just want the belt off Drew.
I have since August. Like, it was okay at first. He was the good pandemic champion. He got us through. But now it's just like, it's the same stuff. Like, the whole story where I was the chosen one, but I sucked and I left and I came back and I was at the top of the mountain and here I am and nobody can match me and I don't know. It's not interesting enough. Like, look, when CM Punk was a champion for 434 days, it always felt like it was fresh. There was always something new. There
Mhm.
was always a new aspect to the storylines. With Drew, it's almost been like rinse and recycle with Orton and with Keith Lee and with AJ Styles and everybody else that he's faced. Big Show, and to me, they need something fresh, and The Miz would be something fresh because he has been damn good at promos the past whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, he always has been, but especially recently, and it just is more interesting. I don't mean out of those three, Goldberg, Miz, and Drew. Two questions: who do you want to win at Royal Rumble, and who do you think will walk out as champion at Royal Rumble?
You know, we'll ask this question every show that we do in January until we get to the Royal Rumble, and it's worth asking every time. I'm still set on Daniel Bryan winning this match. I think someone on the SmackDown side has to be featured. SmackDown's a bigger show, it has a bigger audience, it's reaching more casual fans. So I think it's more of a selling point for WrestleMania to have whoever is the person that you want to spotlight going into a big match at WrestleMania that should be on the SmackDown side. But then you get into the predictable thing of someone from Raw wins the men, or someone, vice versa. One of the brands takes it, and I believe they did that last year. Don't quote me on it. So I'm of the thought that Daniel Bryan's the guy. They had Daniel Bryan suffer 2 recent losses, major ones, trying some new things and being a little bit goofy. Does he lose at the Rumble and figure out some way to get this right? The allusions to him wrapping up his boots and saying this is his last year. He said that, but then on SmackDown, it's not that serious. I want to say I'm still on board for Daniel Bryan winning the Royal Rumble, but I've started to waver a little bit. And maybe this is just like they did with Ricochet, that the pressure comes up and you falter a little bit, and as Daniel Bryan decided to go with someone else again to tell him what to do, when really what he had to do is just listen to himself, listen to his fans, and he could do it, maybe that's the direction they go in. Maybe they do something else with Daniel Bryan that isn't a title match, because I don't see him being a guy who has a problem. Not like he had no problem being in that match with Sami Zayn at WrestleMania this year. None. All right. And he has no problem with that because he has a creative role. He has another outlet within the company besides wrestling now. So I think he's starting to say, like, I don't need to be in those prime positions. But obviously, if he's only going to be wrestling for a little while longer, get a big run out of him. Get a big run out of this time while he still wants to do those things and still feels very able to do them. And obviously is looking great when he does it, but I have a little bit of shades of doubt. All right. I'm still saying Daniel Bryan, but I could see a no good slippery snake, not named Randy Orton, win the Rumble. And what if it's The Miz? What if it's The Miz failing to cash in, but winning the Rumble in the same night? That in itself is a pretty exciting story and would get the ball rolling in a different direction. At the same time, as much as Miz is a big mainstream star with the reality TV show and stuff like that, is he somebody that hardcore fans are going to be motivated by, or is he to the other lane in the mainstream fan category? I would say he's in the mainstream fan category, and he may pop that type of crowd. So I'm feeling Miz or Bryan right now. For the women, it feels like an open spectrum of who could win that. But once I saw this segment with Bliss tonight, declaring herself for the Rumble with Asuka in the ring with her, beating Asuka, she is the person to beat in this match. With all the other Fiend elements that she can have, she is the woman to face in this match. And I don't see her getting into that Rumble match until the end. And this will be a showcase of the women, and then Alexa comes out and decimates somebody.
Yeah, so right now I typically 100% agree on the women's side. Alexa Bliss is going to win the match. Probably comes down to her and maybe like Bianca Belair or Bayley or somebody like that. The men, though, I still at this point do agree that Daniel Bryan will probably win, but there have been some rising contenders making their way to the top. Shinsuke Nakamura has become an interesting name to consider. I know that he just won
He pinned Daniel Bryan.
He just won 3 years ago, but He has momentum. He's a face again. The crowd is going to absolutely go insane
Mhm.
for him when we're back again. So, if not him, Daniel Bryan is the only other one I can think of, unless you pull the trigger on the Fiend. But I'm still going to go with Daniel Bryan as of right now.
Yeah. Other people not feeling tonight's Monday Night Raw. We'll get our final rating in here as we covered all the big notes from it. GJ saying Raw was as bad as Rashad Higgins fumbling the ball at the 1 yard line in the Cleveland Kansas City game yesterday.
Nothing good ever comes out of Cleveland.
Nothing good ever comes out of Cleveland. If you want to see some Cleveland bashing, I highly suggest you look up the hastily made Cleveland tourism video. If you haven't seen it, it's probably one of the funniest sketch videos on the line from about 10 years ago, in which it ends with the signature line, "At least we're not Detroit." Highly suggest. I was watching that during one of the commercial breaks on Raw after that line from Morrison tonight. I thought that was a funny line. Other people saying, I hate when people start saying stop watching it, but then continue to bitch about the show. Yes, I agree with that. That's
like you, right?
All right, and get your ratings in here. I want to see all of them. I'm scrolling through your comments. Want to be on top of them. Want to make sure I get any new people who are in the conversation here. Jeff Krupp said the return of the Fiend is dragging. I'm sorry, he was burned alive a month ago, like less than a month ago. I'm okay with that. I'm okay if they take their time getting him back in the ring.
Orton had first-degree severe burns, and he was back next week.
True. He just had it in the face. Orton had it all over. He had them burns all over it. A lot more than just poison ivy, So a lot of different takes here, but here it is. We get to the point where we have to, put the hammer it down. Man, I can't talk today. I gotta get some caffeine in me.
Oh yeah.
Hit the like button. Let us know what you think. John, your rating for Monday Night Raw, 1 to 10. Okay. 1 being you didn't beat the spread and you lost a lot of money on these games this past weekend. 10 being, oh, you whipped the spread. And wow, I don't even want to bet on the Super Bowl. I just want to keep the money I won. All right. So what is it? Is it on the 1 to 10 scale? Where does it stand?
6.75.
6.75. You're a very calculated choice there. I'm not gonna one up you, but I'm gonna give it a 6.9. This is a 6.9. That AJ Styles Ricochet match was really fun. The stuff with Lexa near the end of the night was interesting, and I also enjoyed some other developments on the show. But overall, there was some dead weight, and that's a soft 6.9. Like I can't give it a 7. It just wasn't up there. But outside of that Styles Ricochet match, there was some dead weight on this show, and there were some goofy things that didn't click. But they tried stuff. I'll say this: they're trying. They're not just coasting on different things here. They're trying stuff, so I'll take that. Other people with their takes chiming in here in their different ratings. Some people give it an 8. Some people give it a 5.5. I see a 7 coming in here. All right. Other people just dropping a 1 on them. They're not a fan of it. Other people just saying they miss John Clark giving shows 7.5 dog. They miss you just giving a show.
You missed NXT last week then.
That was a 7.5 dog. So yeah, so that's what it is.
Raw hasn't been that good recently.
Here we go. Comment about we didn't touch on this on our review. Lacey Evans and Ric Flair had a segment this week on Monday Night Raw, and she was asking about 4 Horsemen, and she says she's learning from the dirtiest player in the game. And Lacey's tag team partner Peyton Royce played the fool here against Charlotte in a one-on-one match. This advances the storyline, but I don't know if I feel the storyline. I don't know if I'm compelled to want to know where this goes. It's Ric Flair, lovable character, always going to love Ric Flair. I think Lacey Evans is playing the role very well, but I don't know if I enjoy the meat on the page, if you will.
Oh, come on. I guess I agree somewhat. It's funny. I think it's entertaining. I think it all depends on what the end game is here, which I think is Charlotte turning heel on Asuka. People are forgetting already they're still tag team champions. They haven't done anything together since like last month, but hey, whatever. What do you think?
I'm telling people, I'm texting Robert to say that people think you're John Clark now. But I'll wait.
Oh God, he might.
Do you want to talk about this WrestleMania? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about WrestleMania. This is the biggest wrestling story of the year so far. We are going to get a WrestleMania. It will be 2 nights. It will be at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, as we've been reporting at WrestleZone for months, that WrestleMania, the biggest show of the year, will be at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, Florida. And what do you think of this? We'll talk about the other 2 big WrestleMania stories that were announced at the same time. WWE doing this big rollout during the divisional football games on NBC this week.
I absolutely am enthralled, thrilled, and very happy. How happy, you ask? I already
I ask.
I already have a flight. I already have a hotel. I already have a rental car. We're ready to go.
Ready to go. So, and that'll be
So hopefully
that weekend of April. All right.
Yes. I'm flying out April 8th. Hopefully they don't pull a fast one and say, well, you have to be from Florida to buy a ticket or something along the lines of that. Hopefully they don't pull any funny business like that.
No, we'll see what happens here. So, I mean, they have big support from the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, and the mayor of Tampa, Jane Castor. Both of them a part of the statement for this. So when you get the statement from an elected official, that's their endorsement, especially for a corporation to get this, something like that. It's worth noting, obviously, you're traveling there. You're from Pennsylvania.
I'm flying, yeah.
So then the idea is, are they going to sell tickets for this?
Absolutely.
And they are. At what level? We don't know. And how many tickets are going to be sold? Is this going to be a full capacity event? We just don't know. WWE says ticket availability and safety protocols will be announced in, quote, the coming weeks. No news tonight on Monday Night Raw. They did rerun the filmed kind of Anchorman spoofy, make fun of the news segment with John Cena was involved in that. Sasha Banks was involved with it, Roman Reigns, and then Triple H and Stephanie McMahon in kind of a news set with green screens and everything like that. I saw people make fun of it, but it got millions of views, got a lot of attention. And they also announced the next 2 years of WrestleMania. We'll talk about them here in a second, but we get 2 nights of WrestleMania in Tampa Bay, Florida, where WrestleMania was supposed to be here. They bring about like a third. Let's get hypothetical. What do you think WrestleMania looks like this year? I think it's going to look a lot like what New Japan had at Wrestle Kingdom, where you're going to have a stadium of 80,000 people, and maybe you're going to have 10 to 15,000 tickets sold for this event. They're going to be very, very hard to come by. I think the ticket prices could get really, really high on the secondary market. And those secondary market websites are going to want those tickets really high because they haven't sold tickets for anything.
So this is what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to do something identical to, and this is the perfect example, because let's keep in mind that the Super Bowl is in Tampa Bay in 3 weeks from now. I think we're going to get a very, very good idea of WrestleMania, depending on what the Super Bowl looks like as far as number of fans and stuff like that. I do agree the secondary market will be absolutely inflated to the rim. I think they're going to do like the football have been doing, where you have to buy tickets in pods of 2 or 4, nothing else.
You can't buy a single ticket.
You have to keep the groups together. They're going to split the rows and everything up. And I think it's going to be very interesting based off of that. And I do think we expect to probably between 14 to 18-ish thousand tickets to be sold. You can utilize the floor, unlike football, which I think they'll do. I'm very interested to see that. The only thing that matters to me is that I get 2 tickets.
You were just dead set on this. Have you ever been to a WrestleMania before, John?
Yes, I've been to 35 in 2019.
I've been to 4. I've been to 4.
I'll catch up to you in 4 years.
4 years. You're gonna do 4
unless you go anyway.
Unless I go. Well, the thing is, I had tickets for WrestleMania this year.
So did I.
Go down there. Mr. Robert DeFields is in Florida.
One thing I do want to mention is, and I know I'm biased here, but I think they should give priority to those that had tickets to last year's WrestleMania.
I don't know how you can go through that.
It's easy. You just look at Ticketmaster accounts to see who had tickets. It'd be very easy.
And then, so obviously WrestleMania itself, here's the thing. It looks like, we're not going to say it, but it all but looks like there will be live fans at WrestleMania. And this
I
has
mean,
been
they said that already.
they haven't just flat out said it. They said tens of millions of dollars are going to come to the
Well, they
state because
said
of this.
they said ticket information released in the coming weeks, which would mean that you would assume that there's going to be.
But are they selling tickets for WrestleManias a couple years from now too? That could be the other reasoning in this, because in this same announcement, they also announced the next 2 years of WrestleMania into 2023. So that's a part of it, and we'll touch on those here. And I do want to get on this question. Jay Feliciano, a man who knows a thing or two about the WWE. All right. He knows a lot about the inner workings of the WWE. Jay says, think there will be a fan access event. This is usually the convention that runs parallel with WrestleMania week. WWE takes over a town. They've been doing this now for well over 15 years. WrestleMania is a show that sets up shop and takes over a town, plays a stadium, and then runs an arena, and then runs a convention center, and then all of the wrestling world comes to it. If you haven't been to a WrestleMania, you should go to a WrestleMania town for a weekend, take in all the great independent events, maybe a fan access, but we don't live in those times. When we can, even if it's not a WrestleMania that attracts you, I say you should still go if you just want to be around wrestling folk. If you just want to be around wrestling people and you're just randomly running into wrestling fans at every place, it's cool. He says, will there be a fan access like that, a convention that WWE runs?
Virtually.
On the side, no, because I think those are harder to run in this circumstance. You're talking then about those are really sold on meet and greets and photos. Are fans going to want to do photos with a superstar in a glass case? Are superstars going to want to do that? So there's that element to it. Is that weird to people? I think it could be. It could be weird to people going to this event and not seeing a full stadium and not feeling comfortable with that. Is there going to be some trepidation on getting tickets for this? I'm going to say no. I think there's going to be a lot of people that buy tickets to this, especially if they know they feel safer and they know that it's not going to be 80,000 people. I do have this thing to say, though. I think it's going to be very hard for anyone internationally to get into this event. I think this is going to be, I feel very, very bad saying that because I've been to WrestleManias and a part of it is it feels like a worldwide event. You walk through the crowd and you are hearing dozens of different languages and it feels like a global event.
There are so many travel restrictions that are going to be put in place already and goes into effect in a couple of weeks where you have to have a negative COVID test just to enter the United States to begin with. I don't think it's necessarily a matter of them not being allowed, but I think it's going to be so much work that I don't think they're going to think it's worth it for the most part.
Yeah, it is. Other people talking about how Florida doesn't give an F. Our very own Robert D. Felipe.
They don't.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Florida is a state rather. Their tax code is set up in a way where outside money that comes into the state is weighted so much more. So the actual structure of how the state runs is built on people coming in. So, but at the same time, we say that I don't think they're going to budge on international travel. That's one thing where they can say, all right, well, we're going to have to say no to this. The problem is then you could have them saying no to people from certain states and saying, all right, well, this state has this certain, hey, I'm saying
that's way too hard. That's way too hard to enforce.
I'm just saying how it could play out. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. And there's been travel restrictions. You could still get into the state, but they're going to say if you're coming here, you have to stay here for 14 days or 10 days or something like that. State of Illinois was doing that and is still doing that with some states. New York has some restrictions. They don't want people coming in from the UK right now because there's new strains of COVID that they're concerned about. We do have the vaccine rollout, but obviously the vaccine rollout is not going to get enough people vaccinated so that we could have 80,000 people filling WrestleMania.
Unless it's all like nurses at WrestleMania in the audience.
You know what? I'm okay with that. You don't respect the nurses?
Absolutely not.
John Clark doesn't like AJ Styles versus Ricochet. He's making fun of puppies. You made fun of puppies tonight. You made fun of great wrestling, and now our first line responders. John Clark, when did you become a heel? How do I not know that's Bobby D under the mask? How do I not know?
There is no scenario that you can bring forth here that I will even remotely think is okay or agree with if it doesn't include the general population having the ability to purchase tickets.
I think the general population will have the ability to get tickets, but I think it would be a wonderful charitable effort by WWE to say, hey, firefighters, paramedics, doctors, first line
You get
responders.
4 tickets. You get the 4 tickets.
Oh, absolutely. I think there should be a whole section for first responders. I also think first responders should get first crack at tickets. I'll say that. I think that's fine. I think that's okay. Hey, I'm just saying what I think, man. That's it.
Well, I think regardless, I think they're gonna sell out within like 10 minutes. So
let's talk about the other year's WrestleManias that were announced in this big rollout. I did do a video about it, but I didn't like the sound on it. You guys are hearing me okay on the sound tonight? I'm sounding all right, John Clark?
Yeah, you sound perfect.
Good. I'm worried about the mic being all wonky. We have the next 2 years of WrestleMania planned out past this. So WrestleMania 38 will be in Los Angeles. This will be in TNT Stadium in Dallas. And then the year after, it will be in Los Angeles. WrestleMania was supposed to be in Los Angeles this year at SoFi Stadium. So here's the shakeup here. All right. So there's a lot to kind of announce at one time. WrestleMania 38 will take place at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, just as Arlington, Texas, to be specific, April 3rd, 2022. WrestleMania Hollywood, WrestleMania 39, will take place on April 2nd, 2023, SoFi Stadium. So these are unique times, and WWE made commitments to Los Angeles and that new stadium to run a big event there. That event's they're going to run the Olympics there too. So there's the challenge of that. I believe this would get WWE in there before the Olympics. So that's pretty cool. And that would
this is interesting because now this sets us up with a few years to for them to plan a huge and big location for WrestleMania 40. That's going to be a huge deal for them.
I expect that to be in New York. I mean, it's WWE, it's New York. It's anytime they have one of those big milestone ones. I mean, they went to New York, New Jersey, 35.
Chicago.
Right? Yeah, what?
I wouldn't put it past them to go to Chicago either.
Yeah, I know. And I know everyone who's in their town, we get this every time we talk about a WrestleMania. They want the big show in their town. I've never been opposed to them doing it somewhere they haven't done it already. Or at least haven't done it in a really long time. Toronto is due. They've never played Vancouver. I think BC would be a unique position for them to run. They have a stadium there, and they have newer stadiums as well. But it looks like they want to stick to outside of New York. They want to stick to warm locations. And there's also been rumblings of a new football stadium in Las Vegas,
or indoor stadiums.
And also, Royal Rumble, if it was running this year, I think that would have been in a baseball stadium. They would have ran the Rumble in a bigger stadium, and they want to get more of those big stadium events. If they can get SummerSlam in a baseball stadium, that has been talked about the past few years.
Yeah,
The
rumor had been all year that they were aiming for Seattle in their indoor baseball stadium, so that would have been the likely destination. We'll never know, but I think another interesting thing to keep an eye on is what is in store for them after WrestleMania. Like pay-per-views after that, shows after that. Is this going to be a one-time thing? Do they want to try to slowly get more shows going? Because all we know is that WrestleMania will have fans. We don't know about SmackDown, Raw, NXT, anything. I mean, we know that WrestleMania will have fans.
Also, what is the time frame for them getting out of Tropicana Field, where the Thunderdome is now? That's where they're doing Raw and SmackDown now. NXT still in the Capitol Wrestling Center.
From what we know, the last, when I say last, I mean the furthest dated confirmed show we have for there is Fastlane on March 21st, which is 3 weeks before WrestleMania. Baseball season starts almost immediately after that Fastlane pay-per-view. So I would imagine after that they're going to probably go somewhere temporarily. But the only thing we know besides WrestleMania is that the Hall of Fame will likely be virtual, but we know nothing else about any of the other shows that weekend.
Let's talk about that. We heard rumblings this week from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer, stating that currently it looks like it could be, you wouldn't say it for sure, could be going virtual. So what would that be? Basically, you wouldn't have a live crowd. Now, that could be a bunch of different things. You could have them just simply present that with just wrestlers present, with just the wrestling legends and the current WWE names present for that. And it could be a socially distant gathering, right? I'm inclined to think it's that. Now, if it's the presentation that you and I have for our wrestling podcast after Monday Night Raw, I don't know if that would benefit it. I don't know if that would be serving the legends who get this special moment in their lives that they get to share with their family and their friends is warranted. I think this needs to be on stage. I think they could dress up the Thunderdome in a very unique way and make this special. Also, I'm not opposed to the idea of fans not being there. There's been times when I've watched the Hall of Fame, and I do think the fans add to it, and their applause it gives gravitas to the entire event. But then I do think it is that smart mark event where fans show up at WrestleMania week, and they love wrestling, and they've loved it their whole lives, and they just need to get their shit in. They need to know that they can crack somebody during a speech with a funny chant or something like that. And it just gets a little bit too cute and probably indulgent, not borderline indulgent, just indulgent. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but there's sometimes where it's just like, I want to hear this person give this speech and make their friends and their family laugh. And I want that. That is more important to me sometimes than the chanting and stuff like that. And, after last year's, I'm all over the place with the stuff here today. After last year's WrestleMania with the incident with Bret Hart, maybe it is something to look at. If this is an event where, all right, we got to look at what we're doing with this event to make it different. They tried something different. They did it in the ring. They did it in a different presentation where they did it in the ring so they could sell more tickets or something like that. I'm of the thought, though, that I don't know if you need fans. This is one thing where I'm okay with fans not being there. I could accept it.
Yeah, I agree. But I do think here's the thing. We know that they're doing a 2-night WrestleMania, Saturday and Sunday. We know the SmackDown is Friday, and we know the Raw is Monday. So this almost leaves no room for an NXT takeover at this point, unless they do it on a Wednesday night when they normally would have a show.
Yeah.
Let alone the Hall of Fame, which would have had to have been on Thursday. So at this point, it's like, well, where does NXT even fit into the picture?
I would do NXT on Thursday. I would do the NXT takeover on Thursday night. I would have that final SmackDown before on television on Fox is a bigger, available thing. So here's how I would lay it out. Okay. Just me. I hold the pencil, right? Wednesday night, NXT. Thursday night, NXT takeover, right? Or maybe you put the Hall of Fame in that spot on that Thursday night, right? Friday night, SmackDown, the last one, because we're going to make it work. Then we begin WrestleMania weekend, and then we have Raw, and that's, I could flip that Thursday. I could flip in and out. It could be a takeover. It could be a Hall of Fame. I could go either way.
Do they have the audacity or thought to run a takeover at say 4 p.m. on a Saturday before WrestleMania?
No, it'd be too much because then you're talking about I think especially WrestleMania 35. The biggest lesson they learned from that event was you can exhaust
8.5 hours in your seat.
Yeah, I was there. And there was a lot of great matches on that show that I probably enjoyed a lot more watching them back later on than when I was physically there. And I do think there is a thought of it's WrestleMania. It could be the longest show of the year. It's fine. WrestleMania should be 4 hours. I'm okay with that. And I'm okay. I'm honestly okay with that. But
I'm okay with 6.5 most. I'm okay with 6.
I like it as 2 nights. 2 nights I think is actually pretty cool. I think that's actually really
apparently they don't agree because 2022 and 2023 are one night.
That could change. They could change.
You almost feel like they would have said something now, though, if that was the case.
If they see an indication, if the social trends lean them into the idea of doing
cancel culture,
and if the culture of wrestling tells them go and do this, we want to buy it. They will see the numbers and they will go with it. And the numbers from this past year's WrestleMania, when they had to film it in a set, they were huge. Some of the biggest social media numbers of all time, because you had WrestleMania on a Saturday and a Sunday. And also that we were fresh into the pandemic and everyone was home. And they had a bump on the network from it. They had a huge attention. They were on ESPN. They were running the afternoon WrestleMania. I would much rather want that. I would much rather hey, we're going to run the best WrestleMania. We're going to run the best Mania matches on ESPN or a network TV show that afternoon. And then, hey, by the way, WrestleMania is tonight. this year's WrestleMania is tonight. I think it's a better route to go. I think you could easily burn fans out. It is the biggest wrestling week of the year. I don't think you should burn fans out. I think you need to be smart and selective, just like how you're doing these events now. There is a certain sense of people have less patience with this stuff. So you got to give them the steak. I don't know if you need as much of an appetizer, like give me the full meal. I'll take many courses, but I want as much red meat on the bone. Big question here. Would it bother you guys if they pump crowd noise and chants into the main audio mix of the Hall of Fame? No, it wouldn't. I think they'll do them of some kind. It's safer. I'm okay with it being a safer event. If it's going to be a formal event where people are socializing a little bit more, maybe you can test and trace them. Keep that crowd small. Keep that within the WWE bubble. I think that's the smarter way to go. What is this? I don't even know this question here. WWE moving WrestleMania big stadium, John. Yes, if you haven't just joined us, guys, they are doing it at Raymond James Stadium 2 nights in April in Florida, as we've been reporting. Will WrestleMania be hosted by Gronkowski from the Tampa Bay Bucks? Are we going to get more Gronk?
I think especially if they were to win the Super Bowl, I think that they're going to be involved in some capacity. I mean,
yeah, that is sort of the thing. It always happens. That is the thing. They're in a lucky spot there where they could be running in the stadium where the team wins the Super Bowl. Also, fun things with this year's WrestleMania, they have that big pirate ship at Raymond James Stadium. And Kevin Owens said last year he did it on a WWE Chronicle network special. He said he was really bummed out that they didn't have WrestleMania at the stadium because he said, I want to have a match that allows me to climb to the top of that thing and jump off of it. I want to jump off that.
Think it's huge. It's like 50 feet tall. I don't think he's jumping off of that.
Even the mast of it, like I think he was talking about like the main mast with the sail. If he goes up there, that's like 80 feet. It's really
there's no way. There's just no way.
That's like 2 Hell in a Cells. Don't do that. So there's that take here. Someone's going off that pirate ship. If they do a match, even if it's a limited crowd, someone's going off that pirate ship. That's where things stand. We will be back tomorrow afternoon covering a whole lot more in the world of wrestling. Once again, you want to follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, if you don't do it already, to win these. And make sure your notifications are on so that you can win these. All right. So we want to make sure you guys can get these. This is going to be really, really cool. Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, WWE Elite Mattel action figures. That's for the audio audience and the podcast side of things. All right, you guys can win these, and we'll give out those in the 2 weeks ahead of WrestleMania or Royal Rumble. I'm messing stuff up like crazy. So many botches tonight, right? We'll do a live Royal Rumble show. We will absolutely have a live Royal Rumble show. I'm also thinking about doing a live watch along of the Royal Rumble. Okay, so you can watch the Royal Rumble with us. That may be a YouTube exclusive. Then we're gonna have the Royal Yumble the afternoon of the Royal Rumble, and that is the fast food Royal Rumble. You John, you have never experienced a Yumble live. You've watched it, but have you experienced the pure fattening glory of seeing all of America's most beloved food mascots fight in one match?
I'm about to.
Oh, you're about to, bro. You're about to. All right. You better put on some weight and get ready for this. All right. Eat some bread. Build it up. All right.
I got my favorites. You got
your favorites? My favorite, my perennial favorite is the Coca-Cola Bear. All right, because he's all coked up. All right, I think he's a personal favorite.
Colonel Sanders for the
Colonel Sanders. People like him. All right, but Colonel Sanders recently has been transmorgified into a bucket of chicken, which I think is going to make it harder for him to win a match because then he doesn't have a human form. He's just a bucket. And you can just pick him up and throw him out, So I think that's going to be a challenge for him. You can have the heart of a champion, but if you don't have like arms and legs, I think, kind of put you at a disposition there. I'm just going to put it out there, and we're getting really technical here. Yes. People love the all coked up thing. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. It's been a tough time. It's been a challenging couple of weeks. I appreciate you guys being patient with all my goofs and gallantry on the show. I appreciate it. You can follow John Clark on the Twitter machine. Where, John?
John R. Clark 12.
John R. Clark 12. Of course, you can catch him on the news desk on WrestleZone.com as well. And you can see me here. I'm going to be here a lot. I mentioned all that Royal Rumble stuff we're doing. We're also going to do a Ready to Rumble watch along. Probably, I think maybe that's Saturday or Friday before Royal Rumble. We haven't set a date. So much content for the diehards, the people we know are watching the show 64 minutes in or listening this far in. Thank you guys. As I mentioned, thank you so much. We're going to try and give you a bunch of different content. Ride hard with us. If it's something you can enjoy after the Royal Rumble and there's so much stuff to take in, do it. And enjoy all the stuff you're watching. Enjoy the Royal Rumble. I know people are critical of wrestling right now, but try and turn your head off. This is a big event, and just enjoy it. Let your mind go a little bit. And I say this as someone who has to watch this stuff professionally, quote unquote. Let yourself enjoy wrestling. We say it, but we mean it. And that phrase again, it is exactly what, John Clark?
Enjoy